My mom didn't ask for my bonus like it was a favor. She asked like it was a debt collection call, polite enough to sound reasonable, sharp enough to make me feel guilty before I even answered. I'm Emily. I'm 31. And for the last 2 years I've been paying $6,200 a month in bills for a house I didn't live in, for people who kept telling me I was lucky to help. I know how insane that sounds. If you're hearing that number and thinking, no way, that can't be real, trust me, I thought the same thing the first time I added it all up on a spreadsheet at 2 a.m. But it was real. It was automatic withdrawals and insurance invoices and urgent repairs and my mother's favorite phrase, "We'll pay you back when things settle." Things never settled. IT started after my dad's second heart scare. Not the big one that makes you change your life, but the kind that scares you just enough to panic and then go right back to your old habits. Mom called me crying, voice trembling, saying she couldn't breathe, saying she didn't know how she was going to keep the house together. My dad was still working, but he'd missed a few weeks. Medical co-pays started stacking up like dirty dishes. Their credit cards were maxed. And my little brother Tyler, 26 and permanently figuring himself out, was living in their basement like it was a long-term resort. I lived in Chicago in a one-bedroom that smelled like laundry detergent and ambition. I had a decent job in operations for a mid-size logistics company. Not glamorous but stable. I was the kind of person who paid her credit card twice a month just to see the number go down. I liked order. I liked control. I didn't like panic. That's why when Mom cried, my brain immediately started solving instead of feeling. "How much are you short?" I asked. "It's not, it's everything," she sobbed. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, Dad's meds, Tyler's car payment, the property taxes. Emily, I'm drowning. I should have asked why Tyler's car payment was on the list like it was oxygen. I should have asked why they still had a car payment for a man who didn't contribute. But I didn't. Because in my family, asking those questions meant you were cold. So I said, "Okay, I'll help." That one sentence turned into a contract no one wrote down, but everyone expected me to honor forever. We started with the mortgage. $2,850. Then utilities. Gas, electric, water, internet, another $600 or so. Homeowner's insurance. Car insurance. Then the medical category that always changed, co-pays, prescriptions, follow-ups. Then house stuff, a leaking water heater, a cracked driveway, a roof patch that somehow cost more every time it was mentioned. Then Tyler's expenses that always slid in like they belonged there. He needs tires. He's behind on his phone bill. He can't lose his car, Emily. Every month Mom would call with that same tone, like she was delivering bad news, not requesting money. And every month I'd transfer funds, my stomach tight, telling myself it was temporary. I built a spreadsheet because I'm that kind of person. I categorized everything. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, medical, repairs, Tyler. And then I did the math one night after a particularly brutal call where Mom cried because the bank is watching us. The monthly total, $6,200. I stared at the number until my eyes burned. $6,200 a month. That was more than my rent, more than my student loan payment, more than my groceries, more than my entire life costs combined. I was basically running a second household with my salary while being told I should be grateful to be able to help. I could have stopped. I had moments where I almost did. Like the time I flew home for Thanksgiving and saw Tyler wearing a brand new Apple Watch while telling me jobs are toxic. Or the time Mom casually mentioned a little weekend trip she and Dad took to decompress while I was paying their property taxes, but then my dad would cough or Mom would sound tired, and the guilt would hit like a tidal wave. Because that was the family system. Emily is the fixer. Tyler is the baby. Mom is the martyr. Dad is the fragile one. And nobody wants to be the person who abandons them, so I kept paying. For 2 years. My friends thought I was being generous. My therapist called it financial enmeshment. My mother called it family. Then, the week everything broke, I got the email from HR. "Congratulations, performance bonus approved. $10,000. Pre-tax." Still, it was the biggest bonus I'd ever received. I sat at my desk staring at the number, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Real relief. Like I could breathe. I planned it instantly. Pay down my credit card. Finally rebuild my savings. Maybe even take a weekend trip that didn't involve me answering emergency calls about Tyler's overdue insurance. I told myself quietly this could be the moment I start untangling my life from theirs. I made the mistake of mentioning it in the family group chat. I didn't even brag. I wrote, got a bonus at work. Feeling grateful. Hope everyone's doing okay. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom, hi honey, she said, and her voice was too bright. Too sweet. That's how I knew something was coming. I saw your message. That's wonderful. We're so proud of you. My stomach tightened. Praise in my family was never free, thanks, I said cautiously. She inhaled like she was about to deliver a reasonable request. So about that bonus, she began. We need it. I blinked. Need it? Yes, she said like it was obvious. After everything we've been dealing with, it only makes sense. Only makes sense. Like my bonus belonged to the household budget. Like it was already spent in her head. Mom, that's my money, I said slowly. Emily, she said, and her tone hardened. You owe us. The words hit me like a slap. I owe you, I repeated. For raising you, she said, as if she was explaining basic math. For all the sacrifices. For the stress. For the way we've held this family together. You're doing well now. It's time to give back. I felt my throat tighten. My hands went cold. I've been paying your bills, I said. Every month. $6,200. There was a pause. Then Mom let out a small, offended laugh. Don't throw numbers at me, she snapped. That's not love. Not love. So my money wasn't love, but her entitlement was. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. What exactly do you need it for? Mom didn't hesitate. Tyler's truck is having issues, she said. And Dad's credit card, there's a balance. And we're behind on the HOA fees. And honestly, Emily, we deserve one good thing. We've been through so much. I stared at the wall, my mind racing. My bonus was being assigned to Tyler's truck. Tyler. The same man who lived rent-free while I paid. The same man who called me uptight when I asked him if he'd applied anywhere this month. No, I heard myself say before I could soften it. One syllable. A boundary I'd never used with her. She went silent. Then her voice dropped, low and dangerous. Excuse me. I took a slow breath. No, Mom, I repeated. I'm not giving you my bonus. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just saying no to $10,000. I was saying no to the role they'd built my entire identity around, and I had no idea what they were going to do when their fixer finally stopped fixing. My mom didn't scream right away. She did something worse. She got quiet, the kind of quiet that says, I'm about to rewrite this conversation so you're the villain no matter what you do. Emily, she said slowly, like she was speaking to a stubborn child, you're being ungrateful. There it was. The family word for you're not obeying. I kept my voice calm because I could feel my heart trying to climb out of my chest. I'm not ungrateful, I said. I'm exhausted. Mom let out a sharp breath. Exhausted? From what? You sit at a desk all day. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so perfectly her. My labor only counted if it looked like suffering she could recognize. From paying bills, I said. From carrying a second household. From waking up every month wondering what emergency you'll hand me next. Her tone flipped into wounded martyr in 1 second. So now we're an emergency to you? She gasped. After everything your father has been through? I swallowed. I'm not saying Dad's not been through things, I said. I'm saying Tyler's truck is not a medical necessity. Don't you dare talk about your brother like that, she snapped. He's trying. Trying. Another magic word. Tyler was always trying to find himself, trying to heal, trying to cope, trying to avoid adulthood. Trying what? I asked before I could stop myself. Trying not to apply to jobs? Mom's voice sharpened. You think you're better than him because you have a fancy corporate job? I don't think I'm better, I said. I think I'm tired of being the only one who's held responsible. Silence for half a beat. Then the guillotine. If you don't give us this bonus, Mom said, don't expect us to keep helping you. I blinked. Helping me? I could hear the smile in her voice, the one she used when she thought she'd found leverage. Yes, she said. Don't forget whose insurance you stayed on until 26. Don't forget who paid for your braces. Don't forget the roof over your head. My stomach tightened because I knew this list. She pulled it out any time I asked for fairness, like a receipt she kept in her back pocket. Mom, I said slowly, I've paid you back 10 times over. She scoffed. That's not how family works. There it was again. Family as a rule book where I owed forever and they never owed me. Family as a one-way bank. I took a breath. I'm not doing it, I said. And I'm not paying $6,200 a month anymore either. The words left my mouth and the room seemed to tilt even though I was standing still in my apartment. I felt instant panic. What did I just say? What if Dad gets sick? What if the house goes into foreclosure? What if everyone hates me? Then another feeling rose underneath the panic. Relief. Like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for years. Mom went silent again. Then she laughed, short, sharp, disbelieving. You're joking. I'm not, I said, voice steady. I can't do it anymore. Her tone turned icy. So you're abandoning us? No, I said. I'm setting a boundary. Boundaries, she repeated with disgust, like the word tasted bitter. That's what your therapist taught you, isn't it? To make your mother the enemy. My therapist taught me that love isn't measured in automatic payments, I replied, and my voice shook on the last word, but I didn't back down. Mom's breath came heavier through the phone. Fine, she said. If that's how you want it, I'll tell your father. And Tyler. And the whole family. And they'll know exactly what kind of daughter you are. There it was. Social punishment. The family's favorite tool. Make you afraid of everyone's opinion so you crawl back into line. I swallowed. Tell them the truth, I said. Tell them I've been paying your bills. Tell them the monthly total. Tell them I said no to being guilted into giving up my bonus. Mom made a sound of disgust. You're obsessed with money, she snapped. It's sick. I almost laughed again. Me. Obsessed with money. After wiring thousands every month to keep their life afloat. No, Mom, I said quietly. You're obsessed with entitlement. Her silence turned thick. Then she said, low and venomous, you will regret this. Click. She hung up. I stood there with the phone still against my ear and felt my whole body humming like a live wire. I wanted to call back. I wanted to apologize just to stop the nausea of conflict. I wanted to fix it. That's what I was trained to do. Fix. Smooth. Pay, but instead I set my phone down and opened my spreadsheet. I stared at the categories and the payments like they were a confession I'd been writing for 2 years and refusing to read out loud. Mortgage. Utilities. Insurance. Medical. Repairs. Tyler. Total, $6,200. I copied the last 12 months into a clean summary tab. I highlighted the total. Then I exported it as a PDF because something in me knew this wasn't just a family argument anymore. This was a financial record. Evidence. A timeline of exactly how I'd been used, and I did something else that felt almost ridiculous, but it mattered. I called my bank and changed my transfer settings. I removed Mom's account from my saved payees. I turned off autopay to their mortgage company. I canceled the utilities payments I'd been covering under my name, and my finger hovered over confirm, and for a second my chest tightened with fear. What if they spiral? What if Dad's health dips? What if they lose the house? Then my mind flashed a different image. Tyler's truck, my bonus, Mom saying, "You owe us." I hit confirm. The next hour was quiet. Too quiet. Like the universe was inhaling. Then my phone started buzzing. Calls, texts, unknown numbers, group chats. My aunt, my cousin, even Tyler, who never called me unless he needed something. Tyler. "What the hell, Emily? The mom says you're cutting us off. Are you trying to make Dad have another heart attack?" I stared at that message and felt my anger sharpen into something clean. There it was, emotional blackmail dressed as concern. Dad gets sick, it's my fault. Tyler suffers, it's my fault. If Mom is stressed, it's my fault. Everyone else is free to be irresponsible because I'm the designated adult. I typed back one sentence. "I'm not paying your bills anymore. Get a job." Then I blocked his number. I blocked my aunt's number when she started calling back to back like she was trying to wear me down. I muted the family group chat. I turned my phone face down and sat on my couch staring at my hands, waiting for the guilt tsunami to hit. Instead, I felt something else first. Rage. Because the moment I stopped funding their life, they didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't ask how I'd been carrying it. They just attacked. Like I'd been an ATM, not a daughter. That night, I got a voicemail from Dad. His voice sounded tired, older than usual. He said softly, "Your mother says you're upset. Call me. We can talk. We can talk." In my family, talk meant, "We pressure you until you give in." I didn't call back. I wrote down the voicemail time and saved it. Because I could feel the pattern forming. Next would be the guilt. Then the anger. Then the big move to force me into compliance, and I was done being surprised by my own family. I went to bed with my laptop open, my spreadsheet printed beside it like a shield, and one thought repeating in my mind. If they think I owe them my bonus, they're about to learn what it feels like when the person paying $6,200 a month finally stops paying. The next morning, my bank app looked like a battlefield. Pending cancellations, confirmation emails, payment stop notices. It should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it made me feel exposed, like I'd been walking around in a storm for 2 years and only now noticed how soaked I was. I went to work like normal. I answered emails. I sat in meetings. I smiled at coworkers. But my chest stayed tight because my phone kept vibrating in my purse like it was trying to pull me back into the family system. By 10:14 a.m., my dad called again. I didn't answer. A minute later, he texted, "Please, just talk to me." Then my mom texted from a different number, one I didn't recognize. "I'm your mother. You don't get to block me." I stared at that line for a long time because it explained everything. Not love. Authority. Ownership. In her mind, I wasn't a person with choices. I was a resource with obligations. I didn't respond. I forwarded the message to my email and labeled it family. Then I kept working. Then, around lunch, my coworker Jenna walked by my desk and paused. "You okay?" she asked quietly. "You look tense." I opened my mouth to say, "I'm fine," the automatic lie, but nothing came out. My eyes burned. I swallowed hard. "Family stuff," I said, forcing a smile. Jenna leaned in. "The kind of family stuff that makes you forget to breathe?" She asked. I nodded once. She didn't push. She just said, "If you need a room to take a call, use mine," and walked away. The kindness made my throat tighten more than the threats did because my family's version of love always came with a bill. After work, I drove to my therapist's office. I'd been seeing Dr. Kim for months, mostly for stress and sleep issues, because I kept pretending the payments were temporary. I sat on her couch and said the words out loud for the first time. My mom demanded my $10,000 bonus. Dr. Kim didn't look surprised. She looked sad. "And what did you say?" she asked. "No," I whispered. And I told her I'm done paying $6,200 a month. Dr. Kim nodded slowly. "How does your body feel now that you said that?" I blinked. Like I'm about to be punished, I admitted, and the punishment came faster than I expected. That evening, I got a call from the mortgage company. Not to me personally, but a notification email because my name was still associated with the account from when I'd set up autopay. Subject line, past due notice. I stared at it, stomach dropping. Past due already. That meant they hadn't been paying anything. Not even a partial. They'd been relying on me completely, and the second I stopped, the whole thing went red. I called Dad. Not because I wanted to fold, but because I wanted one clear conversation on record before they twisted it. He answered on the second ring. "Emily," he said, voice heavy. "Thank God. Your mother is beside herself." I closed my eyes. "Dad," I said calmly, "did you know Mom demanded my bonus?" He sighed. "She's stressed." "The bills." "Answer the question," I said, and my own firmness surprised me. Dad paused. "She mentioned it," he admitted, "and you agreed?" I asked at him. My throat tightened. I could hear the TV in the background. I could hear how normal his evening sounded while my life was on fire. "Emily," he said, careful, "we're behind. We need help." "I've been helping," I said. 2 years. $6,200 a month. He exhaled. "I know. And we appreciate it." Appreciate. A word that meant nothing if they still felt entitled. "Then why is the mortgage already past due?" I asked. Dad's silence stretched. Then he said quietly, "We don't have it." I felt my stomach twist. "Where did the money go?" I asked. "Things," he said. "Life." "Dad," I pressed, voice shaking now, "I've been sending thousands." "Where did it go?" He sounded irritated, defensive. "Why are you interrogating me like I'm a criminal?" There it was. The pivot. "Make me feel wrong for asking questions because I'm not your bank," I said. "And because I'm done funding Tyler's lifestyle." Dad's voice sharpened. "Leave your brother out of this." "No," I said. "He's in it. He's been in it. He lives there." Dad sighed like I was exhausting him. "He's family." "So am I," I said, and my voice cracked on the last word. "Why am I the only one who pays?" Silence. Then Dad said something that made my chest go cold. "Your mother thinks you're punishing us." Punishing. Like boundaries were violence. "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm stopping." Dad's tone turned pleading. "We can make a plan," he said. "Just send the bonus. We'll catch up. We'll pay you back." I laughed once, bitter. "You said that for 2 years," I replied. "You never paid me back a dime." Dad's voice tightened. "Emily, don't do this." "I already did," I said quietly. "I canceled it. You need to figure it out." My heart hammered. I felt cruel saying it. Then I remembered Mom saying I owed her my bonus. I remembered Tyler's Apple Watch. I remembered their weekend trips. I remembered the way they never asked how I was surviving. "If you let the house go into foreclosure," Dad said, voice rising, "you'll destroy your mother." There it was. The final weapon. Make me responsible for Mom's emotional state. Like always. I took a slow breath. "Dad," I said, "Mom has been destroying me." He went quiet. Then he said low, disappointed, "I didn't raise you to be like this." That sentence landed like a punch because it was designed to. It was meant to make me collapse into shame, to scramble to prove I was still good. I gripped my phone. "Then maybe you shouldn't have raised me to be your safety net," I said, and hung up before my voice could break. I sat in my car in my apartment parking lot for 10 minutes, hands shaking, staring at the dashboard lights. My brain screamed, "You're a bad daughter. You're selfish. You're going to regret this." Then another voice, quiet but steady, answered back, "No. You're finally expensive to exploit." That night, Mom sent a final message from the unknown number. "If you don't fix this, don't call me when you need family." I stared at it, thumbs hovering over the keyboard. The old me would have typed a paragraph. Apologies. Explanations. Promises. The fixer in me wanted to rush in and put the fire out even if it burned me again. Instead, I typed 6 words. I already needed family. You weren't. Then I blocked the number, and for the first time in 2 years, my phone went quiet, not because they finally respected me, but because I'd finally closed every door they used to walk through without knocking. The silence didn't last. It never does when you stop paying for people's comfort. 2 days later, my aunt called my office line, because she knew I wouldn't answer my cell. The receptionist transferred the call without thinking it was a trap. I picked up, expecting a vendor. Instead, I heard my Aunt Susan's voice, sweet as poison. "Emily," she said. "Hi, honey. I'm so glad I got you. I've been worried sick." I gripped the phone tighter. "How did you get this number?" "Oh, don't start," she sighed. "Listen, your mother is devastated. Your father's blood pressure is up. Tyler hasn't slept. This is all a lot. A lot." The same phrase they used any time I tried to name what I carried. "It was always a lot for them, never for me, Aunt Susan," I said carefully. "I'm at work." "Then be quick," she replied, tone hardening. "Fix it. Fix it." The family's favorite instruction. Like I was a technician hired to repair their consequences. "I'm not sending my bonus," I said. "And I'm not paying the bills anymore." Aunt Susan inhaled sharply like I'd slapped her. "Do you hear yourself?" she hissed. "You're acting like a stranger." "No," I said. "I'm acting like someone who finally looked at the math." "The math?" she snapped. "You're making everything about money." I almost laughed. "Because it is about money," I said. "You can't call it love when it's automatic withdrawals." She went quiet for a beat, then switched tactics. "Your parents sacrificed so much," she said, voice dripping with meaning. "Do you remember when you wanted to do dance lessons and they couldn't afford them? Do you remember how you still got to go to prom? Do you remember how your mother worked overtime?" I stared at my computer screen, breathing slow. This was the guilt montage. "The greatest hits of parenting used as a lifetime invoice, I remember," I said. "I also remember Mom buying Tyler a brand new gaming PC the same year she told me dance lessons were frivolous." Aunt Susan's voice sharpened. "Your brother needed an outlet, and I needed support," I said quietly. "But I became the support instead." She scoffed. "You're jealous. That's what this is. You've always been jealous." There it was again. Jealous. The word used to make inequity sound like my personal flaw, not their choices. "No," I said. "I'm angry." Aunt Susan's tone turned threatening. "If you keep this up," she said, "you won't have a family." I swallowed. "That's interesting," I replied, voice steady. "Because I've been paying for one." She exhaled sharply. "You are breaking your mother's heart." "My mother broke mine first," I said, and my throat tightened as I spoke the truth out loud. Aunt Susan went silent. Then she said coldly, "Fine. You want to play this game? Don't come crying when the house is gone." Click. She hung up. I sat there with the receiver still against my ear, feeling a wave of nausea. Not regret, just the old conditioning screaming that conflict equals danger. Dr. Kim's voice echoed in my head. "Your nervous system thinks boundaries are abandonment because your family trained it that way." After work, I met Maya for dinner. She listened while I recapped the call, then she set her fork down and said, "They're escalating because you're not budging." "What if they lose the house?" I whispered. Maya didn't sugarcoat it. "Then they lose the house," she said. "That's a consequence, not a curse." I stared at my plate. "Dad's health." "Emily," she interrupted gently, "if Dad's health is fragile, why is Tyler living there without contributing? Why is your mom demanding your bonus? Why are they taking weekend trips?" Questions landed heavy because they were the questions I'd avoided. Maya was right. If the situation was as desperate as they claimed, they would have cut luxuries first. They would have demanded Tyler pay. They would have downsized. They would have changed. Instead, they demanded my bonus like it was a moral obligation. That night, I opened my email and typed a message to my parents. Not emotional. Not pleading. Just facts. Because if I didn't do it, they'd rewrite everything, effective immediately. I will no longer pay ongoing household expenses. I have covered an average of $6,200 per month for 24 months. Attached is a summary of payments. I am willing to help you create a budget plan, but I will not provide my bonus or continue monthly transfers. Tyler will need to contribute or you will need to downsize. I attached the PDF spreadsheet. I hit send. My finger hovered over the mouse like I was about to jump off a cliff. Then it was done. They replied within minutes. Not with a budget plan, not with gratitude, not with responsibility. Mom wrote one sentence. How dare you shame us? Shame us. The irony was so sharp it almost cut. They weren't ashamed of taking my money. They were ashamed of the paper trail. They weren't upset I was struggling. They were upset I documented it. That's when I realized what this battle really was. Not money. Visibility. They wanted my support in the dark because in the dark they could pretend it was love. On paper it looked like what it was, dependence and entitlement. My phone rang again. Dad. I didn't answer. A voicemail came through, his voice strained. Please, your mother is crying. Tyler's saying you hate him. Just send the bonus and we'll forget all this. Forget all this. Like my 2 years of sacrifice were an unpleasant conversation they wanted erased. I listened once, then saved it. Because I was done letting them rewrite my reality by memory alone. 2 days later, I got the update that changed everything. A letter from their HOA forwarded to my email because my name was still on the account. Notice of lien filing if payment wasn't received within 10 days. My chest tightened. 10 days. That meant they'd ignored the warning notices for months. They'd been coasting on my payments and gambling that I'd never stopped. I forwarded the letter to Dad with one sentence. You need to handle this. Then I did something I'd never done before. I didn't offer a solution. I didn't offer money. I didn't offer rescue. I went to bed and let them sit with their own consequences for once, and somewhere in that dark, quiet room, my guilt started to crack. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally understood that caring doesn't have to mean paying. On day 7 of their 10 days, my mom showed up in Chicago. Unannounced. Of course. That was her style. If she couldn't reach me through guilt, she'd reach me through shock. I came home from work to find her standing in my building lobby like she belonged there, arms crossed, face tight, lips pressed into that familiar line that meant she'd already decided I was wrong before we spoke. She didn't say hello. She didn't say, I missed you. She said, we need to talk. I stood still for a second, keys in hand, heart pounding. I could feel every neighbor's eyes on us. My mom loved public spaces for private pressure. She loved an audience because it made me less likely to push back. Not here, I said quietly. She scoffed. Oh, so now you're embarrassed of your own mother? I took a slow breath. Come upstairs, I said. But we're doing this calmly. She followed me into the elevator, silent but radiating anger. On the ride up, she stared at my reflection in the metal wall like she was trying to find the daughter she used to control. When we got into my apartment, she didn't sit. She stood in the middle of my living room and looked around like she was inspecting a hotel room she paid for. So, she said, voice sharp, you really did it? You seed my bay down. Yes, I said. I really stopped. Her eyes flashed. Do you have any idea what you've done to us? She snapped. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? I replied before I could soften it, her face twisted in disgust. There you go again, she said. Making it all about you. I almost laughed at how predictable it was. It has been about me, I said, voice steady. Because my account has been funding your house. Mom's hands clenched. We needed help, she said. You're the only one who could. No, I said. I'm the only one you asked. Her nostrils flared. Tyler is struggling. Tyler is comfortable, I said. There's a difference. She stepped closer, voice lowering like she was delivering a warning. You don't get to judge him, she hissed. You don't know what it's like to be him. I stared at her. And you don't know what it's like to be me, I said quietly. Because you never asked. For a split second, her face softened, like she might actually feel the truth. Then it hardened again. You're cold, she said. This city turned you cold. That line used to hurt. Now it just sounded like blame packaged as nostalgia. Mom, I said, why did you demand my bonus? She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she was offended the question even existed. Because you owe us, she said finally, like it was obvious. No, I replied. Because you didn't want to cut Tyler off. Her eyes widened. Don't you dare, she snapped. Don't you dare blame your brother for our stress. Then answer me, I said. Where did the money go? Her jaw tightened. Bills, she said quickly. Which bills? I pressed. 'Cause the mortgage is past due, the HOA is filing a lien, and you still asked for my bonus. So tell me where the money went. She blinked fast. Her fingers twitched like she wanted to grab something. You're interrogating me, she said, wounded. Like I'm some thief. I'm asking for accountability, I said. Because I've paid $148,800 in 2 years. Her face went pale. That's the total, I said. I have the spreadsheet. She stared at me like the number was an insult. Then she said the most revealing thing she could have said. You shouldn't have kept track. I felt something go still in my chest. I shouldn't have kept track, I repeated. So you could pretend it wasn't real. She lifted her chin. So you could pretend it was love, she shot back. Instead, you turned it into a business transaction. I swallowed. Because you treated me like a bank, I said, her eyes filled with tears, but I'd seen her cry too many times to know when it meant remorse versus manipulation. Her tears came when she was losing control, not when she was hurting me. Your father is sick, she whispered. He's under so much pressure. Tyler is scared. And you're sitting here in your nice apartment counting dollars. I took a breath. If Dad is sick, I said, then Tyler should work. Dad is under pressure, then you should downsize. If you're scared, then you should stop spending. My mom's tears dried instantly. Her face hardened. Downsize? She repeated like I'd suggested burning the house down. That house is our life. That house is a bill, I said quietly. And you made me pay it. She stepped closer. So what? She hissed. You're going to let us lose it? You're going to let your childhood home be taken? The childhood home. The emotional hook. She wanted me to see the house as memories, not numbers, because numbers were how I escaped her control. Mom, I said softly, you already took my childhood home the moment you put Tyler's comfort above my stability. Her face twisted. You're disgusting, she spat. You're selfish. Selfish. There it was again. The word they used whenever I refused to bleed quietly for them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said, I'm done. Mom stared at me like she couldn't compute that the conversation wasn't bending toward her. She took one step back, then pulled out her phone. Fine, she said, eyes flashing. Let's call Tyler. Let's see if you can say this to him. I felt my stomach drop. Not fear, anger. She was trying to stage a confrontation where I'd look cruel and he'd look wounded. A performance designed to pull me back into being the villain. She dialed. Put it on speaker, Tyler answered instantly, voice loud, aggrieved. Mom? Did you get Emily to stop being crazy? My mom's eyes locked on mine. Tyler, she said softly. Emily is here. There was a pause. Then Tyler's voice rose. Oh my God, he snapped. Emily, what is wrong with you? Dad is stressed and you're acting like you hate us. I took a slow breath. Tyler, I said calmly, I've been paying $6,200 a month for 2 years. You live there. What have you contributed? Silence. Then laughter, disbelieving, offended. Contributed? He repeated. I'm your brother. I don't owe you receipts. You owe the household money if you live there, I replied. You owe dad support. You owe mom help. Tyler's tone turned nasty. You think because you have money you can control everyone, he said. You've always been like this. Counting, judging. Mom was right. Mom's mouth tightened in satisfaction like Tyler's cruelty proved she wasn't the bad guy. Like she'd recruited him as a weapon. If you're so righteous, Tyler sneered, why don't you just send the bonus and shut up? And that was it. Pure truth. Under all the family language, all the tears, all the love, there was the demand. Give us your money and stop talking. I looked at my mom and realized she wasn't here to understand me. She was here to collect. I leaned toward the speaker and said, calm and clear, no. And you're getting 30 days. In 30 days, you either start paying or you move out. My mom's head snapped toward me. Emily, 30 days, I repeated. That's my boundary. Tyler exploded. You can't kick me out, he shouted. It's not your house. I nodded slowly. Then you should be terrified, I said, voice steady. Because if it's not your house, you have no right to live there rent-free. My mom ended the call, face red, breathing hard like she'd run a mile. How dare you threaten your brother, she hissed. How dare you use him as a reason to drain me, I replied. She stared at me, lips trembling. Then she said the line she thought would destroy me. If you do this, you're not my daughter anymore. The room went silent. My heart pounded. The old me would have collapsed. I would have begged. I would have apologized just to keep the title of daughter. But I looked at her and realized something. She'd been taking my daughterhood for years while still taking my money. She wanted the benefits without the responsibility. I swallowed once. Then I said quietly, then stop calling me like I am. My mom's eyes widened. For the first time, she looked unsure. Like she didn't expect me to survive that threat. Then she grabbed her purse, marched to the door, and left without another word. The moment the door clicked shut, my whole body shook. Not because I regretted it. 'Cause I'd finally done the one thing my family trained me never to do. I chose myself in a room where I was supposed to sacrifice. I didn't sleep after Mom left. I kept replaying her words, "You're not my daughter anymore," like they were a sentence handed down by some judge I still feared. My nervous system didn't care that I'd been brave. It only cared that the oldest survival rule in my family had been violated. Keep Mom happy or lose belonging. So I did what I always do when I can't breathe. I made a plan at 6:30 a.m. I called the mortgage company. I wasn't calling to pay. I was calling to remove my name from anything I could, to stop being attached to the sinking ship they kept steering into storms. The woman on the phone was polite and brisk. She explained that because I wasn't on the deed or the loan, I wasn't technically responsible for the mortgage, but because I'd set up recurring payments, my bank account had been a primary payment method and my email was on file as a contact. We can remove your email, she said. But we'll still send notices to the borrower. Do it, I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. She asked, "Is there a dispute?" I paused. Then I said, "There's a boundary." When I hung up, I felt a small sense of control return, like I'd just unplugged a machine that had been draining me quietly in the background for years. Then I called the HOA. Same thing. Remove my email. Remove my phone. To remove anything that made me the default adult. When the real adults decided to avoid reality, the HOA manager sighed and said, "You're not the first grown child who's called us crying." That line landed in my chest like a weight. I stared at my kitchen counter and swallowed hard. "Do you see this a lot?" I asked. "More than you'd think," she replied gently. Families don't like consequences. They like scapegoats. Scapegoats. The word made my skin prickle. 'Cause that was exactly what I was. The scapegoat with a stable paycheck. After that, I went to work and tried to act normal, but my hands kept shaking when I reached for my mouse. Around noon, I got a new email, not from my family. From HR. A simple automated message. "Your bonus will be deposited Friday." Friday. 2 days. My bonus was about to hit my account, and my family would feel it like blood in the water. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends. Not my coworkers. Not even Maya. I kept it quiet like it was a secret weapon because I knew the second my mother heard Friday, she'd show up again with a new strategy. That night, the strategy arrived anyway. Damn, why Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message that sounded unusually soft. He said, please. Just talk to me. Your mom she's not okay. I'm not asking you to send money. I just want my daughter back. My throat tightened. That line, I just want my daughter back, was the closest thing to tenderness I'd heard in days. It was also a trap. Because in my family, daughter meant compliance. I didn't call back. I texted, I'll talk tomorrow at 6 p.m. with Dr. Kim's boundary plan. No yelling. Then I scheduled it like a meeting. 'Cause that's what it had to be now. Structured contact, not emotional chaos. The next day at 6 p.m., I sat on my couch with my therapist's notes beside me and my phone on speaker. Maya sat next to me silently, not participating, just present. Like a witness. Like support that didn't ask me to bleed for it. Dad answered on the first ring. Emily, he said, and his voice sounded tired. Thank you for calling. I kept my tone calm. Dad, I said. I need you to listen, not defend. He sighed. Okay. I took a breath. I paid $6,200 a month for 2 years, I said. I did it because I thought we were in crisis. But you were behind the whole time. The mortgage is past due. The HOA is filing a lien. I need to know where the money went. There was a long silence. Then Dad said quietly, Your mom didn't tell you everything. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? I heard him swallow. She's been using some of it to keep things from falling apart, he said. That's what I thought I was doing, I replied, voice tight. What else? Dad's voice lowered. Tyler, he admitted. He's had issues. Debts. My hands went cold. What kind of debts? Dad hesitated. Credit cards, he said. Some payday loans. Couple things went to collections. Your mom didn't want you to know because she thought you'd judge him. Of course. Protect Tyler from judgment. Let Emily carry the weight blind. So she used my money to pay off Tyler's loans? I asked, voice shaking now. Not all of it, Dad said quickly. But some. And she put some on renovations. Renovations. I laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. Renovations? She said the kitchen needed fixing, Dad murmured. She said it would increase the value. She thought I'd keep paying forever. I cut in. Maya's hand squeezed my knee, grounding me. Dad's voice cracked. Emily, I didn't want this, he whispered. I didn't know it was this bad until you stopped. I clenched my jaw. Dad, I said, you didn't know because you didn't ask. You let Mom manage everything and you let Tyler coast. And I became the emergency fund. Dad sighed, sounding ashamed. Tyler is not okay, he said. He's angry. He blames you. Your mom is spiraling. I felt my throat tighten. Dad, I said, I'm not responsible for Tyler's anger. He paused. I know. That 2-word admission felt like a crack of light through a wall. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to prove Dad was capable of seeing reality when forced. Here's what's going to happen, I said, voice steadier now. I'm not giving my bonus. I'm not restarting payments. But I will help you make a plan. Tyler needs to get a job within 30 days. If he doesn't, you need to evict him or sell the house. Those are the options. Dad's breath came heavy. Sell the house, he repeated like the word hurt. It's a bill, I said. Not a shrine. There was a pause, then Dad said quietly, Your mom will hate you. She already does, I replied, and my voice didn't break. At least this way I'm honest. Dad exhaled. What do you want from me? He asked. I swallowed. I want you to stop letting her weaponize you, I said. Stop using your health as a leash on me. And I want you to tell Tyler the truth, that the money was never his. Dad was quiet for a long time. Then he said, okay. Just okay. Simple. Small. But real. When the call ended, I sat still, heart pounding. Maya looked at me and said softly, "That's the first time he's admitted anything." I nodded. My hands were still shaking, but I felt something new under the adrenaline, clarity. Tyler didn't just benefit from my money. My mother hid the truth to keep him comfortable. My father looked away. And they all called it family. Friday was coming. My bonus was coming. And I knew they'd try again. But now I had the missing piece, the truth of where my money went. Payday loans. Renovations. Tyler's debts, and suddenly Mom's demand for my $10,000 bonus didn't look like a desperate plea. It looked like a pattern. A system built on one assumption: Emily will always pay. That assumption was about to die. Friday morning I woke up before my alarm like my body knew money was about to hit my account and my family was about to sense it. I showered, got dressed, and checked my bank app at 8:03 a.m. The deposit was pending. My bonus was floating there like a bright, fragile thing I didn't want anyone touching. I told myself, don't announce it. Don't celebrate it. Don't give them a target. I made it to work and kept my head down, but my phone still felt heavy in my pocket. At 11:17 a.m., the deposit cleared. $10,000 minus taxes, still a chunk big enough to change my life if I used it for me. My pulse spiked anyway, because I could already predict what would happen like I'd read the script 1,000 times. The first call came at 11:24. Mom. From yet another number that I didn't answer. A voicemail appeared instantly, her voice sweet, trembling like she was auditioning for devastated mother. Emily, please. I'm begging you. Call me. We're in trouble. 7 minutes later, another voicemail. This one had less sweetness. If you let your father lose the house, you'll never forgive yourself. Then the text started. Dad, short and careful. Mom is upset. Please don't engage. I'm trying to handle it. Tyler, somehow unblocked through another number. Congrats on your bonus. You gonna keep hoarding while Dad suffers? I stared at Tyler's text until my jaw hurt. He used the word hoarding like I was a dragon sitting on gold, not a daughter who'd already poured almost $150,000 into that house. I didn't reply. I screenshot it. Evidence again. Not for court, just for clarity. So later, when I doubted myself, I'd have proof of the exact moment they tried to shame me for keeping what was mine at tea lunch. I slipped into a conference room and called Dad. Not Mom. Dad answered immediately. She's losing it, he said, voice low. She found out the bonus hit. Course she did. She didn't need access to my account. She sensed it through the family grapevine, through Tyler stalking my life, through the way a system panics when the supply line stops. Dad, I said, I'm not engaging with her. Good, he said quickly. Please don't. She's saying she's going to drive to Chicago again. My chest tightened. She can't just keep showing up. I know, Dad said, and his voice cracked. I'm trying. There was a pause. Then he said, Tyler is spiraling. I closed my eyes. Spiraling how? Dad hesitated. He's angry. He says you cut him off. He's blaming you for everything. He wants me to make you pay. Make you pay. Even the wording was revealing. Tyler didn't want help. He wanted punishment. He wanted control. I took a breath. Dad, I said, you need to tell him the truth. Silence. Then I did. My eyes opened. You did. Dad exhaled. Last night, he admitted. I told him the money you sent went to his loans and his mistakes and that you're done. He didn't take it well. I felt a strange rush, vindication mixed with grief. It took years of my life and a stop payment for Dad to say one honest sentence to Tyler. What did he do? I asked. Dad's voice dropped. He punched a hole in the basement door, he said quietly. Then he said if we sell the house, he'll never speak to us again. So Tyler was holding them hostage too. He learned from Mom. Emotional leverage as currency, Dad, I said carefully. This is not my crisis to solve. I know, he whispered. I'm just scared. I swallowed. I'm scared too, I admitted. But I'm not paying for fear anymore. Dad was quiet. Then he said, Your mom is saying she'll tell the whole family you're selfish. Let her, I said. I have the spreadsheet. My voice surprised me, steady, almost calm. Because that's what the spreadsheet was now, my anchor. My reality. The proof that I wasn't imagining the scale of what I carried. What do you want me to do? Dad asked. His voice sounded smaller than I'd ever heard it. I want you to protect yourself, I said. I want you to stop letting Tyler control the house. And I want you to stop letting Mom use you as a weapon against me. Dad inhaled, shaky. Okay, he said again. Okay. When I hung up, I stared at the conference room wall and felt tears gather. Not because I regretted the boundary, but because I was grieving the parents I didn't have. The parents who would have said, Emily, we're sorry. We never should have taken that from you. Instead, I got threats and guilt and backdoor phone numbers. For 6 p.m., my building concierge called me. Emily, he said, there's a woman downstairs asking for you. She says she's your mother. My stomach dropped hard. My hands went numb. Mom was here. Again. She really did it. I walked to the elevator and felt my legs move like I was underwater. The lobby doors opened, and there she was, standing by the front desk, eyes red, shoulders hunched, holding a tote bag like she'd traveled for war. She saw me and her face twisted into heartbreak. Emily, she whispered like we were in a movie and I was the villain who wouldn't save her. I stopped several feet away. You can't keep doing this, I said quietly. Her tears spilled instantly. We're going to lose the house, she sobbed. We're going to lose everything. People looked. Concierge looked uncomfortable. Mom loved this part, the public performance that made me look cruel if I didn't rush forward. I kept my voice calm. You need to talk to Dad, I said. Not me. She shook her head violently. No, she cried. Dad is weak. Tyler is falling apart. You're the only one who can fix this. There it was again. The assignment. Emily the fixer. I felt my chest tighten, but I didn't step closer. I'm not fixing it with my bonus, I said. She stared at me, tears hanging on her lashes. Then what are you going to do? She demanded. Just watch us drown? I took a breath. I'm going to watch you learn to swim, I said softly, and the moment I said it, her tears dried like a switch flipped. Her face hardened. You're cruel, she hissed. You're spiteful. No, I said. I'm done. Her voice rose. After everything I did for you, stop, I said, firm, still quiet. You used my money to pay Tyler's payday loans and renovate your kitchen. You didn't tell me. And you demanded my bonus. I know. Color drained from her face. For a second, she looked genuinely stunned. Who told you that? She whispered. The fear in her eyes was different from grief. It was fear of exposure. Fear that the story she controlled was slipping. Dad, I said simply, her mouth open, then closed. She looked like someone who'd been caught with her hand in a drawer she insisted was empty. Then her eyes narrowed and she snapped. He had no right. No right. Not it's not true. Not I'm sorry. Just, he shouldn't have told you. I nodded slowly. Thank you, I said quietly. That's all I needed. Her face twisted into rage. So you're just going to abandon us, she spat. I already supported you, I replied. Now you're going to support yourselves. Mom's voice went colder. If you don't give us the bonus, she said, I will tell everyone you chose money over family. I looked at her and felt something settle in me, heavy and calm. Tell them, I said. and I'll send them the spreadsheet. Her eyes widened. The threat bounced back at her, and she hated it. She hated that I finally had proof and backbone and boundaries that didn't crumble in public. She stepped closer, voice low and vicious. "You think you're winning," she hissed. "But you'll be alone." I swallowed. "I've been alone," I said quietly. "I just stopped paying for the illusion that I wasn't." Then I turned to the concierge. "I'm sorry," I said calmly. "She needs to leave." Mom's head snapped toward me. "Emily, please," I said again to the concierge steady. "If she won't leave, call building security." Concierge hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Ma'am," he said to my mother, "you can't cause a disturbance." My mom stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Like I'd grown teeth. Like I'd stopped being her daughter ATM and become a person. She grabbed her tote bag, shook with anger, and walked out. Head high, tears gone, performance over. The lobby air felt thinner after she left. My hands were still shaking, but I didn't chase her. I didn't apologize. I didn't bargain. I went upstairs and sat on my couch in the quiet and realized she came to Chicago to break me in public. Instead, she exposed herself, and for the first time I believed I could keep my bonus, not because I was selfish, but because I finally understood the difference between help and surrender. That night I did something my old self would have called mean, and my new self called necessary. I sent one email to my mom, my dad, and Tyler. Subject line: next steps. No emotions. No pleading. Just structure, and I will not provide my bonus or any further monthly payments. 2. I paid an average of $6,200 per month from month to month. Attached is the summary. 3. Dad, please confirm by Monday whether you are selling the house or requiring Tyler to pay rent. For Tyler, you have 30 days to secure income and contribute or make plans to move. 5. Any future communication must be respectful. Threats and ambush visits will be ignored. I attached the spreadsheet again. I hit send. Then I muted the thread and turned off notifications like I was closing a door with both hands down. My phone stayed quiet for exactly 12 minutes. Then Tyler responded with 3 words. "You're dead to me." My chest tightened on instinct. The old fear. The old reflex to fix. Then I reread the words and felt something else rise. Relief. Because dead to him meant the supply line was truly cut. It meant my boundaries worked. It meant the system was finally showing its real priorities. I didn't reply. Dad replied 2 hours later. "I understand. I'm sorry. I should have protected you from this." I read that message 10 times. Not because it erased anything, but because it was the first apology that wasn't wrapped in a request for money. It was small. It was late. But it was real. Mom didn't respond that night. She waited until the next morning when she could craft something that sounded like righteousness. Her email was long, dramatic, full of phrases like "a mother's heartbreak" and "after all our sacrifices." But there was one line that stood out like a neon sign. "You care more about a bonus than your father's health." She still didn't deny the payday loans. She still didn't explain the renovations. She still didn't mention the lien. She just tried to guilt me into collapsing again. I forwarded her email to Dr. Kim. She wrote back 2 words. Classic deflection. Then Monday came. Dad called me at 6:02 p.m. I answered because I wanted to hear what plan looked like now that I wasn't the plan. "We're selling," he said quietly. The word hit me like a strange wave. Sadness, yes. But also release. 'Cause selling meant the fantasy was ending. The house wasn't a shrine anymore. It was a liability they could no longer feed with my money. Mom agreed? I asked. Dad hesitated. "She's furious," he admitted. "But she can't fight the numbers." Numbers. The thing my family hated because numbers don't care about feelings. "And Tyler?" I asked. Dad exhaled. "He's leaving," he said. Not gracefully. But he's leaving. I closed my eyes and let a breath out that felt like it came from my bones. For 2 years, Tyler had been an anchor tied to my ankles, and I hadn't even realized how heavy it was until it started lifting. "He blames you," Dad added softly. I opened my eyes. I know, I said. Dad's voice cracked. Emily. I'm sorry. I swallowed. Dad, I said, I don't need you to pick a side. I need you to stop letting Mom and Tyler use you to control me. There was a pause. Then he said, I'm trying. And for the first time, I believed him because trying looked different now. It looked like consequences. It looked like action. It looked like selling the house instead of selling my peace. 2 weeks later, the for sale sign went up. Jenna sent me a photo of it from her burner number with one sentence. They're telling everyone it was Dad's idea. I stared at the photo and almost laughed. Of course they were. They needed the story to stay clean. They needed me to remain the villain in public even while my boundaries forced them to do the responsible thing. The house sold in 41 days. Not for what they thought it was worth, because the market didn't care about Mom's feelings either. They downsized to a smaller place an hour outside the city. Mom told relatives I forced them. Tyler bounced between friends until he ran out of couches and finally took a job at a warehouse. Ironically, the same type of logistics work I'd been doing while paying his bills. Did my mother ever apologize? Not in the way I wanted. Not with the words, I used you. Not with, I'm sorry I demanded your bonus. The closest she came was a text months later. Hope you're happy. I stared at it, and for once I didn't feel the urge to defend myself. I replied with 6 words, and they were true. I'm finally safe. That matters. She didn't respond after that. Why, Dad? And I rebuilt something small and real. We had short calls. We talked about health, weather, neutral topics at first. Then, slowly, he started saying things like, I should have stepped in sooner. And each time he said it, I felt the old wound close by a millimeter, not because he was perfect. Because he finally stopped pretending my pain was invisible. As for my bonus, I used it exactly how I planned. I paid down debt. I rebuilt savings. I booked a weekend trip for myself, 2 nights in a quiet hotel with a spa I paid for without guilt. The first night, I sat on the bed in a robe and cried. Not from sadness, but from the shock of realizing I was allowed to spend money on myself without someone calling it selfish. And that's the twist people don't understand about stories like this. The revenge isn't screaming. It isn't public humiliation. It isn't stealing anything back. The revenge is stopping the flow of resources into a system that survives on your silence. The revenge is keeping your bonus, keeping your peace, and watching a family that called you ungrateful suddenly learn how to budget. The last time my mom tried to guilt me, she wrote, "Family should help family." I didn't argue. I didn't write paragraphs. I just thought about the spreadsheet, the $6,200 a month, the ambush in my lobby, the kitchen renovations, the payday loans, and I realized the phone finally went silent for the right reason this time, not because I abandoned them, but because I stopped being their emergency fund, and the moment I stopped paying, they were forced to finally face the truth. I was never the problem. I was the solution they used until I ran out.